Over the past 2 months, I was able to go to some new parks that I haven't been to before. In May, I went to Universal for my field trip. In early June, I did my 3-park southern road trip. In this video I will be ranking my top 10 favorite new coasters that I rode this year. I will also display my predictions that I made from a short I made on Christmas of last year. The link to the short is in the description. Also, any footage that is not mine is credited to Airtime Thrills. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's begin. Number 10 is Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. This ride severely disappointed me. I thought it was gonna be a fun ride overall, but it felt incomplete. The hang time is good and all, but it's nothing groundbreaking. The restraints make it pretty easy to be stapled, which isn't very pleasant. The only thing saving this coaster is the strong ejector hills found throughout the ride. The airtime is actually really good on this ride, but besides that, I was left wanting more. Number 9 is Afterburn at Carowinds. This is a really good invert, but it doesn't stack up with the coasters ahead of it. The first 4 inversions are exactly the same as Montu's at Busch Gardens Tampa. They all provide solid whip, especially on the 0G roll and the Batwing. This coaster is actually pretty intense. This ride's pacing for an invert is pretty good. Only the backlones probably have better pacing. Batman at Six Flags Over Georgia didn't make the list. The only critique I have with this ride is the rattle on the final corkscrew. I found the same problem with Batman at Over Georgia. It's very whippy, but at a price. If you're wearing glasses, be ready to hurt your ears, because it genuinely hurts. But other than that, Afterburn is a solid ride. Number 8 is Thunder Striker at Carowinds. Yes, I have 3 of the big 4 at Carowinds all taking the lower spots. It's not that these rides are bad, it's just that these rides were underwhelming for me, from the morning to middle of the day. Put Thunder Striker on the list. I also call this ride Thunder Stacker for a reason. It stacks every single time on both brake runs. Also, the ride offers no floater during the beginning of each hill. This goes with the same for another B&M Hyper coming up later on the list. Another thing is that each trim brake hits pretty hard, and it's on all but one hill. Alright, now for positive things about Thunder Striker. That first drop is really good in the back. You get whipped pretty hard over it, making it a fun drop. You don't get airtime during the beginning of each camelback, but you do float down each hill. It won't be forceful, but it's there. Also, the drop off the mid-course isn't talked about. That was a solid airtime pop. Thunder Striker is a good ride, but people are right when they say it's a mid to low tier B&M Hyper. Number 7 is Hulk is Universal's Islands of Adventure. I severely underrated this ride. I thought that Kumba was going to be better, but Hulk was way better in almost every single way. The only thing Kumba beats out Hulk in is the second half. That second half is a corkscrew and a few twists and turns into the brake. It's weird for a ride that tried to trip off your face just 20 seconds earlier. The only other critique I have about this ride is the locker policy. It sucks to wait an hour in a hot, sweaty queue without your phone. They should add double-sided lockers like Velocicoaster to the queue. It would make the experience better. Besides that, this ride is awesome. The theming is on point. It's fun to look around the queue and see a bunch of theming and reactors all around you. I didn't really understand it too much, but it was cool. The tire launch is really powerful and will leave you with a gut punch. Spoiler, I think it has a better launch than Velocicoaster's first launch. Hulk then goes into a 7 inversions course that's pretty intense and whippy, and leaves you breathless at the end. It's not too rough either for anybody wondering. Hulk is a very solid looper that combines intense inversions with good theming. Okay, I said way too much about Hulk, so I'm going to move a little faster. Number 6 is Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure at Universal Islands of Adventure. This ride isn't the most intense, but it's pure fun, just like Hulk. I severely underestimated the fun factor of this ride. I grew up watching Harry Potter, not a Potterhead by the way, so I knew the characters in the story. They did a perfect job immersing you in the dark forest and trying to find creatures. I wish they added a little more, but it's good enough. I don't really know how to describe this ride and how I felt, but at the brake run, I had a smile on my face. That's the only time that's ever happened to me on a coaster. Also, the launches are decently underrated, especially the last launch. It's so immersive and it deserves a top 10 spot on my overall list. Number 5 is Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. This layout for a B&M Hyper is amazing. Over the almost 4 days I spent at the park, I got 41 laps on this ride. It's really good. This ride, however, has a nasty rattle in the valleys from after the first drop all the way to going up in the helix. Unless you hold up your lap bar, you can kiss your airtime room goodbye. Also, the ops love to staple you. I mean staple you so hard that it's uncomfortable. If you want room, I would suggest moving up a little bit in your seat, not too much to make your safety in jeopardy, but have it one lock above where the ops would put it, and you will be just fine. Don't put it too high where it risks your safety. But if you want room, I would definitely try to move up in your seat. The airtime, like Thunder Striker, only really exists after the crest of each camelback when you come down each hill. Only the final 3 camelbacks are where you get some good floater the entire hill. Also, I grade out every single time on the downward helix, so make sure you're hydrated. It pulls some high positive G's. Goliath is a fun ride that's a must-do it over Georgia. Number 4 is Twisted Cyclone at Six Flags Over Georgia. Call me crazy, but Twisted Cyclone was way more powerful than Goliath, and it offered a better sequence of elements ride. The first drop blows Goliath's drop away. It may be almost twice as short, but it's way more powerful. The wave turn is good, not the best one I've done. Best is Iron Gwazi's, but it gives good sideways ejector. The step up and down on the turnaround are downright violent. It's sustained ejector through and through, especially the step down into the 0G roll. Also, watch out for the last of Bunny Hills. They give some surprising ejector. If you thought 41 rides on Goliath in 4 days were crazy, try 82 rides on Twisted Cyclone in 4 days. Let's just say I had a lot of fun with this ride. Definitely a top 10 ride. The only problem with it is, like every says, it's a short ride, can't do much about it. But it still exists. Also, in terms of stapling, it's a 50/50ths. Some give some downright illegal room, some staple, so just be careful. TYI deserves a top 5 spot on this list for its stunning airtime. The 2-3 are on a different tier of coasters compared to the rest of the list. They are in the elite tier of coasters in general. Number 3 is Area Force 1 at Fun Spot Atlanta. This ride is 40 minutes from Six Flags Over Georgia, but it's so worth it. First thing I noticed is that these restraints were the lightest ones I've done on an RMC. The restraints on rides like Wicked Cyclone, Iron Gwazi, and Twisted Cyclone are all pretty heavy and hard to lift up. Area Force 1's restraints are light, which makes pulling down the restraint and lifting it up convenient. This ride has some of the craziest airtime I've ever experienced. The stall, the outer bank, the double up, the arcade roll, and the quad down are insane. This blows Twisted Cyclone out of the water. It's an amazing coaster. Number 2 is Velocicoaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure. This ride is bonkers. The theming, immersion, locker system, and ride experience make this a top 3 ride for me. The first half is decent, but the second half is insane. The airtime pops scatter throughout the ride, the inversions, the rock work, top hat, and the Mosasaurus roll. It gets better and better, and it never lets up. Velocicoaster and Iron Gwazi make Florida one of the best coaster states in the country. Get here as soon as possible. And finally, my number 1 new credit of 2024 is Fury 325 at Carowinds. I just love this ride. On my first ride in the middle of the day, I thought it seemed overrated and it didn't have much bite to it. But as it warmed up and I rode it more 27 times that day, I realized how much of a masterpiece this ride is. B&M really made a near-perfect ride. The mix of speed elements to airtime to guest interaction is amazing. Very few coasters can interact with the guests like this one. The treble clef is the best turnaround easily on any B&M and possibly the best I've ever done. The only part I was a little underwhelmed about was the fact that the drop wasn't as strong as I hoped. It's my second favorite drop, but it doesn't have the power that my number 1 drop Iron Gwazi has. The drop lasts forever and it's just so fun. This ride deserves my number 1 spot for this list. It's just that good. I'm bad at intros, so I'll try my best. If you have anything to say, leave it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see ya next time.